So for Gothic arches, there's a few critical dimensions that we need. The first is the span. That is the width of the opening. The second is the rise, which is the height of the opening. Now the rise needs to correspond with your brick coursing. So you need to calculate the thickness of the brick that's going to be running around your intrados on the rise. That then becomes your extrados. That's the measurement that needs to correspond with the brick coursing, not the intrados. Now I'm designing a dropped Gothic arch, which means the striking point is below the springing line. Now the springing line's that horizontal you can see, which is where the arch actually starts. So to calculate where to actually put your springing lines, we use a compass. And we're going to use our striking point, what would be our striking point. This will actually move once we've determined our measurements here. And I've lined that up to the rise. Now I'm going below the striking point and marking. Repeat for the other side. And now we're going to go to the top of the rise. And intersect the lines. So now we have our actual striking points for our dropped Gothic. We can go ahead, use those striking points. This should line up with your springing point and then complete its way around to the rise. So we do this both sides. And now we're on to the extrados. So as I mentioned before, I'm measuring the thickness of my bricks here to form the extrados. I like to measure it on the board first, then adjust my compass to the actual size. I find it a lot more convenient than messing around with the compass. So now we need to work out the gauge of the arch. This is done by calculating the thickness of the brick plus a mortar joint. So there for me, I think it was 32 millimeters. So I set my compass 32 millimeters and worked my way up the extrados. And I realized I was 12 mil short. So I make adjustments, I try again, work my way up the extrados, hope for the best of course. And there we go, right on the mark, perfect. Repeat for the other side. Now we have our gauge marks. I put a little nail in our striking point. This can be done with string on larger arches. And I'm then just working from my striking point to my gauge marks. And this is then now creating the individual voussoirs. And once again, repeat for the other side. Just checking my gauge marks again before we go and cut it and build it, just confirming all dimensions are correct. Now we have our voussoirs. I've actually cut them already, and I'm just doing a dry bond. I find this considerably easier to do it on the table before you actually make the center and stand it up and then having to use spacers. It's nice to give it a little wriggle. And you can see there I'm just using a template to acquire the cuts for the keystone and the two at the bottom for the striking point.